The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Human Rights and Justice for All. I'm your host, Greg Malone. Glad you're able to listen in on the show this morning. If you'd like to call in, the phone number is 561-623-9429. That number again is 561-623-9429. Well, I've been busy this week doing some research. As I mentioned on last week's show, that I would be talking about illegal employment of illegal immigrants, and that's where I am right now, working on that subject. So I want to bring this to you, and especially with regard to a Bloomberg article that was put out on 10/25, which was last week sometime, and it talks about evangelical pastors and Marriott CEO united on immigration. So this is their headline, their grabbing sort of thing here, where they're trying to hook you in. But it talks about these people coming to Washington D.C. to lobby the Republicans specifically with regard to a Senate bill that was passed or has been offered. To create a legal path or a pathway towards legal status for illegal immigrants. So this law that has been passed by the Senate will fall flat on its face with regard to its constitutionality. And the reason that I say that is the U.S. Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, the fourth paragraph says that the Congress shall adopt or make a uniform form of immigration. So everyone has to come in the same way and abide by the same laws with regard to immigration. So just listen to a few names of the people that are coming in on this. They are the chief of the Marriott hotel chain. I wonder why the chief of the Marriott hotel chain, CEO Arne Sorensen, would be coming in to lobby Republicans for legal a path to legal citizenship for illegal immigrants. And for that matter, any large hotel chain that in the country, I wonder why they would be concerned with this. Also, their former CEO, Bill Marriott Jr., he's a co-leader of the Partnership for a New American Economy, along with fellow Republican donor Rupert Murdoch, founder of media company News Corp. So these people are coming in to lobby our nation's officials, and you know how I feel about illegal employment of illegal immigrants. And the way I feel about that is that this is just slavery, plain and simple, hiring illegal immigrants in the United States. It is straight up slavery. I don't care what anybody says. I realize that these people are signing on voluntarily to work for these corporations and for these groups, but they have no rights under the law. They have no protection under the law, just like the slaves. They didn't have any rights or protection under the law. They have are basically just hung out to dry. If they have an issue, they have no recourse in the law. If their employer sexually exploits them, which we know that they do, you can go to YouTube and watch videos on women who are being sexually exploited by their bosses, who basically threaten them with reporting them to immigration or them just throwing them out of their job. And they have families and children and to care for, and they're taking advantage of these women. This is happening today in our country. We just saw on the national news in the past week a video of a man in, I can't think of the name of the city over there, with tall skyscrapers. My brain. I'm getting old, folks. No, not really. But anyway, this guy was seen beating a servant or a slave or whatever you call it, an illegal immigrant, and he is just pounding on this guy. They have video of this over a long period of time. They don't know who he is or who the guy that he was beating up was, but this is a worldwide problem. This is not just a problem in the United States. It is everywhere. And, it's going on in England, it's going on in Africa, it's going on in South America. I just see where Mexico is developing laws and prosecuting illegal aliens coming into Mexico, which is somewhat ironic in my mind. I enjoy the Mexican people and their culture, and I respect their government, but it just floors me because they are promoting people leaving their country and coming to the United States actively, and then they are having problems with immigration themselves. So, getting on down to the story, this conservative fly-in will involve about 600 people, including personal meetings with at least 80 Republican members of Congress, said Al Noorani, Noorani, an organizer of the event and executive director of the National Immigration Forum. And, the press is all surprised that the Republicans are coming in for something instead of just being against something, because I guess conservative Republicans are known just to be against things, although conservatives certainly were able to draft the Constitution of the United States without much issue, and I'm sure they have other skills like being able to tie their shoes and such like. So anyway, getting back to this story, they're trying to get the House to go along with John Boehner, and they want them to act on the Senate's plan to pass this bill. Actually, no. John Boehner said he won't act on the Senate's plan, with the caucus preferring instead to pass smaller bills. I'm sorry about that. I got mixed up in my story here. Just to let you know, I am who I am. If I'm not perfect in speaking, I am trying to get there. But like I said, I am who I am. I don't edit these shows. These shows are live, and they are there for everyone to hear. And if I look stupid, well, I look stupid. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about the message I'm trying to get out and the criminality of our society with regard to illegal aliens and regard to illegal employers, illegal aliens, is what I'm trying to bring to you today. So again, in the Constitution, it says that the Congress shall develop a uniform law of justice. So looks like we have a caller, and go ahead and bring them on, Chad, if you'd like.
Go ahead, caller.
This is Victor Storkel.
Hey, Victor, I'm glad you're calling in. I've been just covering the issue of illegal immigration, but I know that you have a passion. We spoke this week, and we had some dinner together, and Victor is a philosopher. I hope he doesn't mind me calling him that, but that's how I see him. And he is a philosopher with regard to the subject of critical thinking. And this is something I want to highlight on the show here today. So, Victor, go ahead and just let me and our listeners know what your thoughts of critical thinking are.
Well, the critical thinking is my take on it is that we have pretty much abandoned much of what used to be considered critical thinking. Today, everything is pretty much feeling oriented and geared towards opinions and those type of things. And when you and I were talking, we were talking about some of the old school thoughts, and actually we were talking about two books written by Isaac Watts. He was a 17th century hymn writer, wrote over about 700 hymns in his day, and was known for two logic books in the educational world at, I believe it was Harvard and Yale. Used his two logic books to teach logic to lawyers and pastors and leaders and for about 200 years. And I'll just mention the two books. The first one is called Logic or the Right Use of Reason. And this premise was, and this is where I believe we really need, help in, is, logic. First of all, in my opinion, there's a real lack of understanding what logic is, logical thought, and the willingness to, apply it to our lives. And his premise was that, logic is good in itself, but something can be logical and still untrue. And what I liked about his books and his thought process was that we have to blend together both truth, and of course, as a Christian, I believe that truth is found in God's Word, with logical thought to really come to the answers that mankind really needs to solve its problems. And in his two books, he talks about that and lays the foundation for how do we go about doing that. And it's kind of refreshing to see that, especially in the day and age we live, where we're inundated with emotions, we're inundated with opinions, we're inundated, and logic certainly takes a backseat to all of that.
That's great. And the other book that you had mentioned was Improvement of the Mind by Isaac Watts also. And just let our listeners know where they can access these books for free. Go ahead.
Yeah, the books, if you're familiar with Google Books, if you search Google, and they have a book scanning service that basically takes books out of public domain and basically makes them available in a PDF form. And again, you can search there and find, I believe, those two books. We have them in print form through our website. I'll just give you that is virtueinknowledge.com. That's virtueinknowledge. Virtueinknowledge.com is where we have some of our courses and materials. But regardless, two good books to take a look at and think about, because it's a real need. And so his second book was designed specifically for the classroom. If you look at the original picture on the front of the book, it was a teacher and their children. And by the way, if you look at that, if you see that book cover, you'll find that they were teaching logic to elementary school children. Because back in those days, when you were your teens, you were basically, I'm talking, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, not uncommon to be heading off to college at that point. So They were much more advanced in the thinking process and what they expected from children in the educational process. But so he lays a lot of the practical things in that book as far as what's the best way to get boys to learn, because sometimes boys are behind girls in the learning process, and it's a lot of practical things. So you'll find those very, very interesting, to say the least.